Hello,
Mm.
everybody. It's
Hello,
Sunday.
hello.
It's Sunday afternoon. Look at that.
Well, Sunday dinner. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
A little dinner and some true crime for you.
Yeah, a good thing. I ate already. Thank goodness. Figured I might not want to after.
On the anniversary of the first zombie
On the first
coming to
song,
life.
happy
Yeah.
chocolate zombie day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, um, this is part 3 of our coverage of JonBenet Ramsey case. Today we'll be covering the ransom note. We're going to be looking at some. Uh, I actually found I said it last week that I was going to pull from the True Crime Garage
Yeah.
until I actually
Mm-hmm.
found an actual uh, post, an article from Dr. Stephen Diamond in Psychology Today, who goes in a very
Oh.
detailed breakdown,
Oh.
line by line of the ransom note. So we're going to be reading through what the psychologist says about it, and then there's a couple of things we may, as we're talking, I may interject from some stuff, and Claire may interject on some stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Right. But boy, it sounds good. Like
Mm-hmm.
from that article, that sounds like a real find.
Yeah. We've
Mm-hmm.
also got, and I did misquote on Monday when I said it was Robert Ressler. It wasn't Robert Ressler. It was John Douglas, that from
Oh.
the book, The Cases
Okay.
That Haunt Us.
Uh-huh.
So that was my bad. And Claire is going to be
Mhm.
reading what he said about the ransom note.
That's
If
right.
you haven't got a chance, if you're a fan of true crime and murder, of course you are, because you're here. I recommend either picking up the book, The Cases That Haunt Us, or getting it on Audible.
Mhm.
John Douglas talks about everything from Jack the Ripper to JonBenet Ramsey
Yep.
in that
And
book.
he
So,
and he talks about it in a way that we all can resonate with
mm-hmm.
because these things do haunt us. Like we want to figure them out and stuff. And he gets it. He
Yeah,
totally gets it.
he does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, um, so tomorrow night
Mm-hmm.
at 7, because I don't have to
That's
work, so it'll be at 7 o'clock.
yay. I was hoping you would confirm the time
Yep.
for me. Thank you very
Seven
much.
o'clock because I don't have to work.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I might had to because we've got a gentleman at work. His wife's not doing so good, so he's on LOA for
Oh.
a
Yeah.
few weeks. So I thought maybe I might had to cover, but I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't even scheduled tomorrow, so I didn't have to
All right.
cover because I'm covering pretty much the rest of his schedule all week. So I picked up some more hours, but nothing that's going to
Mm-hmm.
interfere with us here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
We're okay, so we're gonna do part 4 then tomorrow.
yeah, part 4
Yeah.
tomorrow, and what we're going to do tomorrow is if you go to, and it's in the link, uh, to the searchgirl.com, and if you look to the
Mm-hmm.
left side,
Right?
you're going to
Mm-hmm.
see a thing that says morning of the murder. If you click on that, it'll give you a
Right.
walk down of everything that happened from,
And that is what we're going to link for
yeah,
the episode, right? That's what
yeah.
we're going to be covering, right?
So
Mm-hmm.
that's a complete from 5:30 a.m. from when they woke up to 1
Mm-hmm.
p.m. And then there's also depending on time frame, we'll probably go through
Mm-hmm.
what happened between 1 and 1:50 after they found the body. So
Okay. Well, there you
that'll
go.
be tomorrow's show. Should be interesting.
That's good. So I'll be putting that link up after the show tonight. Sometime tonight. I also am going to drop the that link into the Murder Minion room. Why? Right now while we're talking.
There you
Because
go.
I can. Because I can. Because I like those murder minions. It's good to see you all. And anyone who's not in there that wants the link, DM me. I will send it to you so you're informed. Okay?
Apparently, Raven has took it upon herself to every episode we do to put in something that I don't like, food wise. And
Uh-huh.
today, she decided that she needs to let everybody know that I don't like melted chocolate. She's not lying. If it melts, I just don't. No, I'm done. It's got to have the form. But yes, I do like hot chocolate. So I don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
weird.
Oh, so you wait a minute. So you like hot chocolate, but you
Mhm.
won't eat melted chocolate.
No, if a candy bar is melted, it's garbage.
But Jay, it's candy bar. In like it's chocolate is can get soft and melt a little. Like it's not bad.
No,
It just Jay. Oh
Now,
well, more for you, Raven. That's all I have to say. Is
or
like,
the
yeah,
one comment, where's that comment? It's better to ask what Jay even likes instead of what he doesn't
yeah.
like.
You got some weird food things. I don't even know if I can. Yeah, I don't know. It's just too much for me. You are a good woman, Raven. You are a very good woman. Is that I'd be going out of my mind a little bit, especially
So
with the coffee thing. But I mean, melted chocolate. That's a favorite for her because she gets more of the chocolate. Like if it melts, you won't touch it, right? So I'd be
yeah.
putting it. I would be putting it in the heater.
So I am going to put on the screen here.
More for me.
This is the actual ransom note. I'm getting most of you probably aren't going to be able to see it. You know, a lot of people are on their phones and stuff. But I wanted you to see what it looks like.
The ransom note you're putting. Yeah.
Yep, it's in. I shared the screen there for the ransom note, so everybody can
Yeah.
see it on the
All
screen.
handwritten. See that
Yep,
lovely. Yep.
yep, all handwritten. Everyone.
Oh,
So
this is a good question. You don't eat s'mores then because they have melted chocolate on it?
I'm not the biggest fan of s'mores. It's not because of the chocolate. I'm not the biggest fan of the
Oh,
combination.
yeah.
I liked all three. I I like the chocolate. I love chocolate, and I like marshmallows and I like graham crackers. But there's something about all three of them together. Just it's not
Oh, yeah.
horrible bad, but I'm just not a biggest fan of it.
Oh, what about lava cake? Like where the melted chocolate comes out?
Oh, no, see that's different because
Oh, see, you like that, right?
that is supposed to be melted.
Oh, so it's only when it's so like the real hot chocolate that's just like melted hot chocolate, like French
No,
hot chocolate. You don't
no,
like that?
no,
No?
no,
And all right.
no.
Fondue? Fondue? You don't dip?
I don't know if
Dip?
I've ever actually had a chocolate fondue.
Mm. Mm. All right. Well, I don't know.
Everybody's
That's
like,
it.
just
Sandy's
shush,
like, oh
just
no.
shush.
Sandy said, you're done, dude. Like
Yeah.
you've done it now. That's it. You crossed the line. Oh man, you crossed the line now. That's it. If Sandy says you're done, that's it. That's it. You think we should stop him from talking about food at all or drink? I think we should boycott it. I think so.
I'm not the one bringing it up. Raven's bringing it up.
Raven, done you wrong, dude. she got you yeeted from YouTube over food issues and coffee. Okay. Anyway, we should get started.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
should get
enough of
started.
that.
So,
Enough of that. But thank you guys. That was fun. That was fun.
so here's the ransom note. We're gonna read through the ransom note 1st. So
Okay.
so and then we'll like I said, as we go on, we'll pick it apart. So it says, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We, and as you notice, a little scribbled out, and I'm gonna just put this in here right now because we will get to it later. There's a little scribble out. I don't know if you guys can see the little thing moving there. It appears that they were gonna say do because it looks like a D and an O, but it's scribbled out, so it's hard to see. But it says,
Right,
we respect your business, but not the country that it serves. Sorry. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. If you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation from my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for the proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police or FBI, will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned, we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You're not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC.
Mm.
So that's the entire note that Patsy found in 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, in
Right.
1, 2, and 3, so you guys can see it there on the
Mm-hmm.
screen.
Mm-hmm.
That is the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get into this next part, do you have anything you want to add before we talk about what John Douglas wrote?
Before I get into that, I just want to say there are some rather personal and direct comments there. It's obvious they know who they're targeting. It's personal. They're telling them they've got people that don't like him. They're very blunt about what they'll do to the child, to be as brutal as possible to the parents.
And Sandy, sorry, I tried zooming in. It won't let me zoom in. It just goes cycles through the pages.
Yeah. But so that always struck me is how personal it was. That it sounded so much like whoever it was knew them so well. You know what I mean? Like just really, really well. So right.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, when we get into what the actual psychologist breaks down, there's a lot in every one of these. So
okay, so this paragraph from John Douglas from The Cases That Haunt Us, he writes, the 118,000 question, if one or both of the Ramseys were using the note to stage an apparent kidnapping, why would they purposely point the finger at themselves by using inside information? If John Ramsey knew he wasn't going to have to pay the ransom anyway, why not ask for $5 million and make it look more legitimate? Is this a movie? Another reason the note was not composed after the murder as part of the parental cover-up. There are quite a few movie references in the note. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. Corresponds to, you know that I'm on top of you. Do not attempt to grow a brain. Lines delivered by the Dennis Hopper extortionist character in Speed, which was out on video at the time of the murder. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. Corresponds to do not involve the police or the FBI. If you do, I will kill her. From Ransom. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. Sounds like if I even think you're being followed, the girl dies. And that's the end of the game. The girl dies. From the Clint Eastwood hit, Dirty Harry. The phrases, now listen to me carefully, and now listen very carefully, also come from Dirty Harry. As does, it sounds like you had a good rest. You'll need it. Compare that to the notes. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. Does this sound like something Patsy would have written immediately after killing her child? 3 pages?
Yeah, so yeah, a lot to unpack there. Sandy, if you want to actually find the note, if you click on, I believe we'll go here.
Which
We'll
one? Wait. Isn't it?
Yeah.
The words of it are here. Let me just put this right here. All of the words for it are here on this person. And does she have the actual note on the other one?
She said she found it.
All right.
So, like I said, that was from John Douglas. And if you guys aren't sure who John Douglas is, John Douglas and Robert Ressler were the two guys that, if you've seen the show Mindhunter, They were the two guys that the show was based off of. They were the guys that actually went around and actually started the entire
behavioral unit.
Yeah, they actually started the behavioral unit, started actually interviewing serial killers in the early 70s. So, I mean, if you're going to get, you can't get any better than, getting information from John Douglas or Robert Ressler when it comes to.
They started what we call just basic behavioral profiling now on criminals and serial killers in general. Started building the databases on the different types of, the fascinating men. Yeah. So I recommend that book too.
Yeah, it is a really good book. I've got it on audiobook. I listen to it every so often. It's actually really good. So what we're gonna do now, but I hang on, I do want to make a couple comments here because
Sandy said your first link on your list in the description gets a 404.
Huh.
We'll fix that after the show.
It looks like it missed
yeah, we definitely need to fix that.
Yeah, it looks like it missed part of the information here.
So, my link is reading error too? Really?
Huh. Claire's link's reading? Oh, yeah, you know what? Because it looks like it didn't.
No, my link is coming up. The one in the chat, mine's is coming up good. I just opened it.
So, you can see what I'm doing.
I don't know. I'm the one I just posted here in the link in the chat. I just clicked on it, right-clicked, opened a new window. It went right to the place. So I don't know why.
Now, so I do want to, before we get into what the guy breaks down, is the couple of things, because everybody knows I love movies. So there are some correlations with some movies here that a lot of those that have dug deep into this, especially, John Douglas, some of the other ones, there's a lot of movie quotes, or kind of like movie quotes, we got from Speed and Ransom and Dirty Harry. What a lot of people say, and I kind of tend to agree with this one, if you just killed your daughter, are you actually going to be thinking about pulling quotes from movies to make it sound more interesting? Are you actually going to write this whole, and if I remember right, there's like 340 words total in this note, something like that. It's an awful long 3-letter note, so it just seems like it seems to be overkill, in my opinion, for a ransom note if you just killed your daughter like 5 hours earlier.
Yeah, so exactly.
But we'll get into more of that later.
I mean, I agree with Douglas that with John Douglas here, that the way those movie references and how precise it's written, how calm, how many times they say they'll kill the child. There's no way that Patsy had anything to do with that letter. Now, I don't know much about John, but I don't think the mother could possibly have had anything to do with that note.
So what we're going to be reading from next is from Who Kills JonBenet, the ransom note by Stephen A. Diamond, PhD, from the Psychology Today, posted February 23rd, 2017. Now, mind you, so we're looking at 2017. This was 5 years ago, and this case is over 20 years old.
Right.
So this is it's an interesting look at it so far down the line. So it starts off with, there's actually a little bit more into it, but I cut it out because it wasn't relevant to what we're talking about here. But it says, what follows is a breakdown of the ransom note. Exactly, it is written on several pages, torn from the bedside pad of Patsy Ramsey, and printed with a black felt pen, taken from and then interestingly returned to its original place in the home, before reportedly being found and read by Miss Ramsey. Now that's a whole situation there with
okay, so it's torn. All right, it was written on several pages, torn from the bedside pad of Patsy Ramsey, and printed with a black felt pen that was put back.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the things a lot of people who really believe
John that just
Patsy
means
did it is there's
because
proof.
There's such intimate access to the materials. Yeah. I mean, really intimate bedside table, like That's an intimate access. Even if somebody was in the home to get access, how likely are they to be in her bedroom to get to her bedside table, tablet? You know. Hmm. Yeah, I can understand. Hmm.
So it starts out with Mr. Ramsey. And then Stephen says, now to begin with, the note is undeniably and deliberately addressed solely to Mr. John Ramsey, JonBenet's father, rather than to both John and Patsy. Though there was, according to police, allegedly an impression found in the pad from which the pages were torn of a practice version, which initially
Mhm.
evidently considered addressing it to and Mr. and Mrs. And then he says why. This
Mhm.
suggests to me that if neither he nor the wife nor the 9-year-old son Burke wrote the note, John was specifically targeted by the perpetrators for some other reason. Most likely because he was a very wealthy owner of a thriving computer business, or, as the author later in the note calls him, a fat cat. If, on the other hand, the ransom note was, as some still believe, a ruse created by the Ramseys, both of whom were themselves middle aged in 96, designed to cover up what really happened that night. The scenario and choice of words was seemingly designed to make the missive more credible to the police and the public. It also suggests to me that the author may have been male, somewhat respectful of John Ramsey, and chauvinistic, perhaps feeling that this extortion business, or business in general, should be conducted between men only, which could comport with how the writer is self described in the next line as being from some foreign and perhaps less socially egalitarian culture. Um, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I could completely, until I read that first part, I had completely forgot that it was actually, this wasn't the first note written. And like I said, the original note actually said, from the impression said Mr. and Mrs., but then was
Mhm.
like, no, never mind. They ripped it out and then wrote it to John. So,
Hmm. Okay. Hmm.
so you want to take the next part, starting with listen carefully?
Absolutely. Listen carefully. It's quoted. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign fraction. We, XX, the word do was crossed out here, respect your business, but not the country that it serves. Here, the author, for some reason, identifies him or herself as a foreigner, not an American, and part of a group of co conspirators acting on behalf of some other country, or perhaps a disgruntled
Cadre.
cadre of individuals who dislike America and are fairly familiar with John Ramsey's business. Interestingly, the choice of the rather obscure English word faction may be significant here, since it is formally defined as a small group from within an organization who are working in concert together against the organization. This suggests to me the possibility that the kidnappers, if indeed one ever really existed, could conceivably have been a disgruntled current or ex employee of John Ramsey's computer company. In that case, the writer of the Ramson note most likely had met John and already knew something about him, his personality, his finances, and his family, of course. If the Ramseys wrote the ransom note to cover up what really happened to their daughter that night, the suggestion that the kidnappers were enemies of America could have been a deceptive attempt to garner sympathy and support from the American public in particular. However, if the writer was in fact a foreigner, this could explain not only the possible chauvinism noted above, but also the spelling error in bold here on the word business, though naturally this word could have been deliberately misspelled by the writer to mislead the investigators. To say first that we do respect you, later removing the emphatic word do, indicates a feeling of deference and even admiration for Mr. Ramsey, almost sounding somewhat apologetic for what is being done to him. Referencing that John Ramsey's business somehow serves the U.S. seems somewhat bizarre, unless he was in fact contracted by and worked closely with the government. His company, in fact, did do business with aerospace giant Lockheed Martin. If so, who would know that? Certainly not a total stranger or random intruder. Who would see a private, for profit American business as existing to serve the country? Not most average Americans, in my view. Perhaps more likely someone who grew up in the foreign, socialistic, totalitarian, theocratic, communistic, or third world country. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter.
Okay, now before,
Ooh,
and
yeah, yeah.
I'll
I
take
should have
over from
stopped
there.
there. Yeah.
That's all right. There are a couple of things I wanted to bring up in here. One was the uh, misspellings of the word.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the misspellings is they misspelled business,
Mm-hmm.
but they spelled attaché correctly. Now, some believe that the spelling errors on simple words like business, and there's another one too. I don't remember which one it um, was deliberate since they could spell words like attaché and um, what was the other one? It's farther down the letter. It's another one of them
Mm-hmm.
weird words that you wouldn't expect them to be able to spell, but they spelled those correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't um see a problem with that because I am not the greatest speller, but there are words like I could probably be able to spell um attaché correctly before I could spell business correctly.
Right, right.
The other word they misspelled was possession in the next line.
Oh yeah, so then it's a double S. They saw those S's things, and that is very,
Yeah.
very a very common misspelled word. Business possessions with the double S's, and and in more than one area.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
people
so
don't know.
I don't fall too much on that one because like I said, I can misspell simple words, but I can spell out harder words. So
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't falter that one too much. But the whole thing with the small foreign faction for me, I I don't find
Mm-hmm.
because like he says that you would have to know exactly what John does
Mm-hmm.
to respect your business but not the country that it serves. So I think for me, I feel that this part of the note is to try and put blame on somebody else to remove suspicion from somebody that would be
Mm-hmm.
closer to him or know his business and try to blame it on a small foreign faction. Um
Mm-hmm.
uh
I don't know. I think there's I have two thoughts on it. One is that with this misspelling of the words, I think they were done on purpose because the sentence structure, the use of language in the whole letter, how precise it is, punctuation, everything else, words that aren't commonly used, would have a good grasp of English, a good grasp of language and grammar in general, and those misspellings would just not naturally occur in my humble opinion. I think they were put there on purpose to mislead and to deflect and to
yeah.
just muddy it up more. I actually, the more we read about it and the more people are questioning and bringing things up, the more I see that it's just a hog mess of just trying to deflect, putting in little things everywhere to point every kind of direction you could possibly think of, especially now like leading towards employees. These people don't like, I mean, they already said that the two people holding the daughter do not like John, meaning they know John. They
Yeah.
know of John. John must have done something to piss him off, like fire them or not give him a raise or not give him a contract or something personal in a business nature.
Mhm.
So, they've made it personal and now they're talking about a foreign faction like it's a big thing. Like, this is like some kind of big kidnapping thing against the country, to make a big move, big statement, and it's not, So you see what I mean? Like they're going in
Mhm.
so many different directions at once that it's obviously the whole thing is deflection. The whole thing is deflection.
Okay, so Shay asked, you think it could have been two people, one writing the note, one was JonBenet in the basement? I am going to actually hold that question because until a later episode, because when we actually give the thoughts later on a upcoming episodes on who and why we think who did it and things like that. So little teaser for you there.
Mm-hmm.
And yes,
Yeah.
it was an oversight. Mom and dad now have wrenches.
Yep. I think the only one now is I think our friend T King, our murder minion, was here earlier. I don't know if she came up blue either. It seems like every murder minion in here is blue. You know, well, that's good. You know,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so moving on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. And if you want to see want her to see 97, you must follow our instructions to the letter. So it says what he goes. She claims at this time in quotation marks, suggesting the note was written or was designed to give the impression of being written after the abduction rather than in advance. To have JonBenet in our possession. The word is misspelled as if the author had particular difficulty with the English words containing letter S, again, possibly indicating a non-native or relatively uneducated speaker. This claim would typically refer to a scenario where a child has been or will be abducted and held in some remote location. Clearly, this was not the case since JonBenet's body was found in the Ramsey home. Thus, either the author was anticipating or referring to such a scenario taking place after leaving the Ramsey home with JonBenet, or he or she was trying to deceive John and his family into believing JonBenet had been taken from the home, when in fact she had not been. This statement would make no sense if either John or Patsy wrote it and staged the murder, since they would have already known that JonBenet would have been found dead in the basement of their home and had in fact never been in anyone else's possession. So this is more of a grammatical breakdown on why, and he's not the first one to say this. This letter would make no sense if Jean and Patsy had actually killed her, staged the whole thing to write the way that they write the letter, because everything in the letter itself indicates that she is alive.
Right.
You know, and if this is a case of a mother and father who had killed their child, or even somebody that knows that that Jean is dead, would not purposely write this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like this?
Yes.
Now, it could be though that it is being deliberately written this way to make you feel that she is alive and to give you hope, and that's what a lot of people believe. Because, mind you, like I said, this was written. Of course, we don't know the time it was written, but it's believed to be written after the fact. Or, and another hypothesis was it was written before, and then something happened, and they ended up killing her, and which was a mistake, and that's what happened. So,
well, then it wouldn't be the parents, because here's the thing: like, how could the parents write this so many hours after her demise? Like, how could they have formulated this? I can't wrap my brain around that one. You know, not even a businessman like John. You know, I just don't see him being able to do it.
So you want to grab the next one?
Yep. Okay. So you will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. This was reportedly the exact amount of John's Christmas bonus check from his company. So not only did the author apparently have familiarity with John's business, but also with his financial dealings, or at least with this particular fact. Either this was a pure coincidence, which seems highly unlikely, or the author, if not John, Patsy, or Burke, had somehow learned of his bonus, suggesting he or she had been told by the Ramseys about it, somehow had access to this information through John's business or bank, or found this out by snooping around the home while the family was out attending a party on Christmas night, and then deciding to demand this specific amount in the ransom note. As others have pointed out, this is not only an extremely odd amount of ransom money for kidnappers to demand, but also fairly minimal, given that A, John Ramsey's significant net worth, of which the letter writer was likely aware of, and B, supposedly having to share the ransom money among a group of individuals, allegedly numbering at least 3. See below. And how likely is it that if one or both of the Ramseys wrote the note, the exact amount of John's Christmas bonus would be demanded? Not very, since it would tend to be incriminating.
Yeah. So that's that right there. This is one of the biggest things everybody and from what I've seen is that profilers and the investigators were digging into. Out of all of these two sentences are the ones that struck them the most odd and the most telling, because right now, whoever it was knew exactly how much John got from a Christmas bonus.
Now, remember, all of this time, they've had several Christmas parties. They've been exposed to a lot of people. Who knows what kind of talk they were doing at these parties and stuff. If they were business associates and everything and people like they're friendly with, they could have been talking about Christmas bonuses and stuff like that. I don't know how.
But
I mean,
it does, but it does narrow down the fact that this wasn't random.
This is true.
This will help narrow it down. It's got to be somebody within their circle. Now, I'm not saying their circle of 20, because we all know that at one of the Christmas parties there was over 300 people there.
Right.
But it does narrow the suspect pool from the millions and millions of people down to hundreds.
But it does add employees at work that would have access to that information. It does add a whole lot of people over in his work environment too.
Yeah, it definitely. Close family and coworkers is what it for me is what who it tends to beeline for is those that are gonna know how much he made, because I honestly, at a regular Christmas party with just your friends and stuff, I really don't see him saying, "Hey, I made $118,000 on this Christmas bonus."
I don't really see that as being. They're Southern, right? So I don't really see it coming up as a topic. To tell you the truth, it's just not. It's uncouth. It's ghost. It's a tacky. I don't think they would be talking about it, but that's just my understanding of.
And Sandy there kind of agrees with you. Salary and bonuses are not generally public, even in a business. So
no, yeah, right, and especially in Southern, you don't talk about the money you make and things like that. It's just not. It's not polite, So from what I understand.
Juju says they also have a huge house, so someone could have been hanging out at the house while they were at the party and found a bank slip or paperwork. There's a million ways that number could have been known. That's true.
Actually, this is true. This is why the circle keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Juju. Yes, I agree. I totally agree, because that also would give them access to the bedside table in the pen.
Yeah. So yeah, it's you can kind of narrow it down, but at the same time, when you start looking into it, like. It is kind of hard, because if they broke into the house, somebody had mentioned it earlier in the chat. Shay did, says, I think someone from the Christmas party took the notebook, pen, wrote the note, and then came back later to get JonBenet. And like Juju said, could have been somebody creeping through the house while they were gone, setting something up and found the thing. So yeah, it is possible. I tend to believe, though, that it is more someone in their, I can't say social circle, but you know what I mean. In between their home life and
in their environment, in their definite environment.
I personally can't see it as someone that didn't know the family. It was just a random.
I think it's definitely somebody who had a beef with the family.
It's possible.
I think that note to me does doesn't read like they have very good feeling. They say that it sounds like respect for John. I think it's belligerent respect.
Yeah.
It's it's like, yeah, you're all that, but watch this. You know? Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's the kind of respect that they're making it out to be. It doesn't read that way to me anyway. I don't know.
Juju
You'll
said they
save
just
it.
come up with a new theory. I'll save it for theory day.
Oh, good, good. I like the idea that you have a theory and that it's a new theory. That's exciting. Oh, now I can't wait. That's exciting, Juju.
So
Okay,
moving on to
so
the
who?
next one. So the letter reads, make sure you bring an adequate size attache to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The use of the word attache, which apparently included the correct accent mark, in this sentence and several other word choices sounds as though the author had a fairly sophisticated vocabulary and tends
See?
to cast additional doubt in my mind as the possibility that the 9-year-old Burke Ramsey could have written it, as some suspect. I call bullshit on that one because I've seen it and I've seen 9-year-old writings. I just can't see Burke writing it. But um,
Hmm.
moreover, employing the properly accented French term attaché rather than the more common American word briefcase, combined with this misspellings of possession and business, supports the probability in my mind that the author, if an intruder, may indeed be of foreign origin. The
It
use of
could be.
lowercase rather than capital letters in periods in AM or am, as opposed to the more abbreviation AM, A period, M period, hints again at the possibility of a non native speaker or writer of English. Exceedingly interesting, the writer states he will call John tomorrow, suggesting that the note may have been written either on Christmas Day in the wee hours of the morning after midnight or
Mm.
in the wee morning hours after midnight. Otherwise, it would have necessarily specified something like later today or this morning. What is the significance of the wording of the statement? Whether it was, as many people believe, written by Patsy or John, or both, or by the unknown kidnapper, the wording would seem to strongly suggest that it was composed and penned sometime on Christmas Day, which contradicts the theory that JonBenet was accidentally or deliberately killed prior to or shortly after midnight following the late evening return of the Ramsey family at the Christmas party.
Mhm. No, but I do agree with the use of language that they are educated. They are very educated. Um, in the structure there, whether they're foreign or not. Even if they are foreign, just the sentence structure alone means they
Yeah,
got a very good education.
using
Yeah,
attache instead of briefcase.
briefcase. Yeah, but you
Um,
could be doing that on purpose because
yeah,
remember they're
Miss.
trying to make it look like a foreign
Yeah,
faction, so they're
it's
gonna like put stuff like that in there.
yeah. Now he does say using the lowercase am instead of the more abbreviated am, the big ones.
Hmm.
I don't use a big am.
Neither do I, so
Yeah,
that's why I don't really think that's a foreign
yeah.
connotation.
Raven
But
says she uses am no periods.
yeah. So like here you go. If you're like trying to make a word into like being a foreign, attaché would be one you would think of like commonly as an American to think that a foreign person would use. Yet a foreign person may not have used it.
Now there's something I didn't. Let me pull this back up because that is actually something interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can see where Jim is coming from here. Um,
Mm-hmm. Hello,
Jim's,
Jim.
Jim says that the accent on attaché looks like it might be part of the Y above. I know
Yeah,
it's
it
going to
might.
be hard for you guys to see here. Ooh, there we go.
I saw it and I kind of agree with him.
If
I
you
didn't
look
really
right,
think I didn't think
if
they
okay,
accented it. Yeah.
so I know it's going to be hard for some of you guys to see, but if you look here, the Y comes down just above the
Mm-hmm.
attaché. There is a little squiggly or a little line right here that would be above the E, so you can see it if you look at any of the other places where Y is, like over
Mm-hmm.
here on money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that little jot on the Y isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the U, and so I
So you
I,
think
I
they
can
you think
I
they
can say
did?
that
Yeah.
I think the attaché actually the little E uh, um
Mm-hmm.
over the E. I think that's legit on the spelling
Mm-hmm.
for attaché. I don't think it's part of the Y, but it is good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It
because
is
if
good.
if you're not looking at the letter,
If you don't drill in, because when I look at it really quick, I don't see it actually. So
yeah, you actually have to look and
mhm.
actually look at the Y above the E, because if you're just reading through it, you're not going to see that. So
Yeah. Well, it also comes to think, if it is a foreigner who has learned English and is writing an English letter, would they have accented it? I think it's more, I think it really actually, the more they point out that those are words that foreigners would have put in, means an American is trying to do it. Like, I really think it proves more that it's an American trying to make it like it's not an American
yeah,
writing the letter. Honestly, I truly believe, especially even now that you say with the attaché with that, because I don't think they would.
So the next part is yours.
Okay, so we're at make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank.
Nope.
When you get no,
Nope. Next one. We just did that one. The
oh,
delivery will be exhausting.
oh, you're right. Sorry, I didn't move up after you were done. Okay. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. This sounds to me like there was some complicated delivery of the ransom already planned out by the alleged kidnappers. Some point out that this scenario seems suspiciously similar to the plot of the film Dirty Harry, starring Clint Eastwood, in which Detective Harry Callahan is asked to deliver a ransom to a crazed killer and kidnapper, despite his suspicion that the victim, a young girl, was already dead, which turns out to be true. The telling statement, I advise you to be rested, indicates to me once again that the note was created either on Christmas Day or just shortly after midnight, because logically, if it had been written much later, there would be no realistic possibility of John being rested by the next morning. Moreover, the concern with John being sufficiently rested once again suggests some possible familiarity and empathy with, and even caring for, the kidnapper's extortion victim. If we you want me to go for the
Well,
next?
I'll get the next one. But
Okay.
what I want to say is, now here we are in 2022, and this complicated delivery is not uncommon to see in movies and TV anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was starting to gain more popularity in movies and stuff in the late 90s. Like they said, this would happen in 96. Um, so I can see where they would pull the plot from Dirty Harry, because at that time it was still. I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
looking. Dirty Harry was in the late 80s,
Mm-hmm.
or mid 80s, whatnot. So I mean, you can still see the similarities to the plot. Now, for us, now looking back at it in 2022, it's not
Right.
uncommon to see that in a movie where it's like we're gonna, you're gonna go here to this bench and you're gonna pick up this cell phone and you're gonna ditch all your other stuff. Then you're gonna take the subway here. Then you're gonna grab a cab.
Mm-hmm.
That's not uncommon for us to see now, but it wasn't as common back then. But I do agree, it seems a little pulled from a movie plot.
Mm-hmm.
And I do. One of the things as I was reading through this last night, I do agree that a lot of this does seem to be written the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a lot of things that we talk that is talked here that would make no sense if it was written that night.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, it's true. I just don't know how they expect him to be rested with his daughter is missing. Oh, come on. Like,
yeah,
really?
you're not going to be rested if you.
Yeah, it don't matter when they wrote
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
you're not going to be rested. No matter when he calls, it's just not going to happen. Like, your daughter's missing and you're getting threatened that they're going to be hit her and stuff like that.
So the next part says, if we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence a earlier delivery. This word was crossed out. Delivery was. Wait a minute. No, what was it? Oh, it was, the earlier delivery, which was crossed out to pick up your daughter. So hence, instead of early delivery, would be hence an earlier time or whatnot to pick out your daughter. It's just kind of odd that delivery was crossed out. So
Mm-hmm.
what Stephen writes here is the suggestion here is that John's movements will be carefully monitored as regards to his going to his bank in the morning to get a ransom money. This may or may not have been true, even if the note was left by an intruder, but either way, it serves to try and dissuade John from deviating from the instructions provided. It also seems to, in effect, encourage his obtaining the ransom money as early as possible, the following day. Why? And why, if the note was written by Patsy or John, would this seemingly totally unnecessary detail have been included? If the kidnappers were real, as now officially supposed, secreting themselves and JonBenet in the basement all along, as a possible original scenario I am proposing here, it would have been convenient for them to deliver, in quotes, JonBenet to her father as soon as he brought them the ransom money. Monitoring could have been fairly easily accomplished via the use of electronic eavesdropping devices and concealed video cameras, both within Ramsey home and possibly in their vehicles. However, no such devices were evidently discovered by the investigators at this time. So either they did not exist or they were hastily removed by the kidnappers before escaping from the home. The phrase "a earlier pickup" rather than "an earlier pickup" again hints at the possibility that English may not have been the writer's first language. Now, a couple things I want to unpack here. The first one is that last part, "a earlier pickup." I have to remind myself to put the "n" in all the time. So once again, I don't see where that's kind of relevant, especially if you're sitting here trying to write a ransom note, and we know that this is the original. Well, there is a theory that they copied it from something they written down before. I don't know where they got that information. Because somebody had one of the podcasts I listened to said there was a thought out there that this was a rewritten note. Somebody had wrote it on something else, but then got the paper, from Patsy's thing, and then wrote that in there. But for me, the biggest thing that I would glean from this is that if we monitor you getting the money earlier, we may call to arrange an earlier delivery of the money. So
how are they monitoring?
Yeah, for me, that would indicate, now that they looked after they searched the house, that no listening devices, no tracking devices, no cameras of any kind were found. It would indicate to me that it's somebody close to the Ramsey family that would be able to monitor everything they're doing. So, yeah, Raven says it sounds like when they started with foreign faction, that threw the guy off with the rest of the note.
Yeah.
And Jujubee says, I see that grammatical error often, even by relatively educated people.
Yes, because it is quite common. It's like the S's.
Yeah, and then says maybe it was a bank employee, and it could have been. They could have been an inside job at the bank. But it would have to put it somebody that would be able to physically see what John and Patsy were doing for this to make any sense. Now we know that this.
I kind of agree with Juju there. I think they just wanted them to think they were monitored.
Yeah.
Because if they had the child in the basement, they were in the basement, okay? And they wrote this note. How are they going to monitor them? They couldn't got up there and got rid of all of the listening devices or whatever they had all over the house. You can't hear from the basement what's going on that well. They're not going to really know. So without them being right next to them, which they are telling you who was in the house at the time, there isn't anybody there that it could be, Jay. That's that close to the family that could have been monitoring about the money and this, that. It would have had to been an agent or an officer or somebody involved with investigating the case, because it was only the family that was home. There was nobody else there. Nobody else was staying there. Nobody else was with them.
But
no friend of the family.
But after, we'll learn later, after Patsy called the police, she called their neighbors, and she called their pastor, who immediately ran to the house.
Yeah, but that's after.
That's after. But that doesn't exclude them at this point.
It excludes them from already being there to monitor about the money. She had to call to get them there.
Yeah.
Which is like, how would they know in advance that she would have done that? Yeah. So that's what I mean. So I'm thinking they just wanted them to believe that they were monitored, but they weren't actually monitored.
And I agree 100% with Sandy. it doesn't matter. The whole note was bullshit, and I agree 100%.
I
I think
yeah.
this was the note itself was a distraction.
So you
Um,
think that she was already dead when the note was written?
yeah. Well, no, actually, from what I believe, the note was written the day before,
So she was not dead then.
or previous to her death. But I don't think the kidnapping of her was actually intended. I think it was to throw people. I think it was to throw everybody off. Um, because I think that whoever did it planned on killing her, especially when we actually look at the autopsy and see what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think the plan was to kill her all along, and I think this note was to throw people off and to think that she
Mm-hmm.
was actually kidnapped and not
Mm-hmm. I can't wait
killed.
till we get to theories, because then there's
Yeah,
that other theory is that they planned it as a kidnapping, but one of the people that was involved had serious issues and it went too far, and
yeah,
that's how he ended up dead,
yeah,
because they were a child molester at heart, and they things took over. And so there's that theory. Like, I can't wait till we get to theories, because there are so many different theories. I mean,
yeah.
there's just
Oh, here's the thing. Shay said, "Here's a question: Since we can go through familial DNA to solve cold cases, can a private lab test and go through sites like 23andMe?" We actually reported on this. God,
uh-huh.
it was
With
we.
the DNA detective, that woman is
Yeah,
fascinating. Oh,
there is. They actually have sent the DNA
hmm
samples to labs.
hmm
This was
hmm
at the end of last year, end of
hmm
2021. They actually sent them out to these labs to see if they could um
Find anything.
find any
Yes.
kind of connection. So there, last I looked, because I do keep updates on this. There has been no update on that part of it, but they have sent the DNA samples to different places um to check for familial DNA. So
hmm Nope. So we'll see, because that is why it's still an active case. That is why they opened it, like it's still being worked, right?
mhm.
hmm
Yeah, Juju says I think the note was written beforehand and copied the day of, and that yeah, me too.
I
Uh,
think so.
and Cassandra says Jay just summarized what I've been meaning. I agree with him.
hmm
Um, so the next part is you want to take that. It says any deviation of my instructions.
Yes, I actually have my mark. I have it all marked. Here we go. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. This is obviously another direct and explicit threat to ensure John's full compliance with the note's demands and instructions. Again, if her executed body has been in the basement all along, this additional consequence of being denied her remains would have been an idle threat. Either the author believed he, she, they could or would be able to actually deliver on this threat, requiring that they had JonBenet in their possession, or it was only meant to cow John into compliance, assuming that JonBenet's body would not be discovered before then. That seems unlikely. This is another example of what would be totally unnecessary detail beyond the threat of execution to include had the note been composed by Patsy and or John Ramsey. Perhaps it could be argued that if the parents created the ransom note, these superfluous details were intentionally concocted and incorporated to make the note seem more realistic to police. But it would take significant time, though, and creativity, it seems to me, for the author to come up with and include all these convoluted details if the letter was in fact fake. Finally, the use of the phrase any deviation of rather than any deviation from suggests to me again the possibility of a non-native English speaker and seems too subtle a detail to have been calculatingly included by John and or Patsy Ramsey under duress.
Yeah, here's this was actually Raven. I think brought it up earlier. I think he got hung up on the foreign faction and
Yes,
can't
he
seem
did.
to look past
He
that
just
part.
can't let
He
it
can't.
go.
Yeah, he can't
Yeah.
seem to let that go because
Because I make that mistake
yeah,
all the time, and I
these
do
are
have, weird language, but I'm an
yeah.
honor student in English and journalism and stuff like
It's
that. But yeah.
Yeah, just because certain words are replaced with other words doesn't automatically mean they're non-native speakers. Some uneducated people, or even some educated people, will
Mm-hmm.
not put the correct usage of, especially if they're just writing something out and it's not a it's not an important document. I mean, obviously this is
Mm-hmm.
an important document, but I mean like a work related or business related or something like that, where language
Mm-hmm.
is actually used as a tool to um indicate different things about a person. In a
Mm-hmm.
situation like this, I just don't see that any deviation of or from being a significant
Mm-hmm.
thing. But I do agree that it was another example of a totally unnecessary detail beyond the threat of execution. Um, to include that the note had been composed by Pat or
Mm-hmm.
John, because there's and this is another reason too, because if we already know she's dead and she's in the basement, you will also be denied her remains for proper burial. You
Mm-hmm.
know the body's there. You know the body's going to be found.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is, to me, is another push to put um, suspicion away from trying to find her body as long as possible in case the person who did it is trying to get away.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And but does it definitely doesn't speak to the parents actually writing
Yeah.
this at all. I mean, a lot of the a lot of it speaks to me that there's just no, I just cannot believe that they could have been able to do it.
So the next part says the two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Stephen says this statement suggests again that the kidnappers, allegedly numbering now at least three, are personally familiar with John and his business, even so that they respect his business, but they do not particularly like you. This, in conjunction with the writer's apparent familiarity with Mr. Ramsey's business and informal use of his first name, suggests that the author and at least two of his fellow kidnappers actually knew or had met John at some point. This seems to me that this supports the notion that the kidnapper or kidnappers could have been employed by John at some point, or alternatively, that this is what whoever wrote the Ramsey note wanted either John or the reader to believe. Now, see,
Hmm.
I agree with that statement
Uh-huh. Yeah,
100%.
I do. 100%.
Yeah.
It definitely is business oriented. At least their knowledge of him. Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Right. You want me to do
So
this
the
one?
next one's is kind of a long one. So go ahead, Claire.
Okay, I get the long.
You get the
Okay,
long
I
one.
get the long one when I can do it. I do. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
because go ahead.
Okay. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. Another grotesque and shocking homicidal threat to evidently ensure full compliance. JonBenet will not only be merely executed, but beheaded to boot, and he and Patsy will be denied her remains for proper burial. This begs the question, is it possible that this was indeed a legitimate ransom note written by a representative of a determined and committed cadre of kidnappers who, discovering that John had deviated or intended to deviate from their very specific instructions, hastily executed JonBenet, leaving her dead body in the basement? In other words, did JonBenet die almost being beheaded by a garrote-like ligature twisted tightly around her neck because the kidnappers decided at some point that morning after Christmas that John was not going to cooperate with them? The main problem with this theory is that her body was discovered in the basement of the Ramsey home, which would have required that the kidnappers held her there initially, possibly planning to take her elsewhere before things went wrong. Again, a highly unlikely scenario. Still, it would have been a bold and diabolically brilliant move to hold JonBenet captive in their own spacious home's basement, somewhere they never looked initially because they assumed she had been taken from the home. as they may have from that location monitored electronically Patsy and John's desperate deliberations as to how to respond to the ransom note. When it became clear to the kidnappers that the Ramseys were not going to follow their direction, not to contact the authorities, for example, JonBenet could have been immediately executed, exactly as they had so graphically threatened to do. Given the length of time transpiring between that fateful and frantic phone call to 911, made minutes before 6 a.m., and John finding her body in the basement in the early afternoon, the exact time unknown. This scenario is conceivable, since, as I noted in part 1, rigor mortis starts setting in around 4 hours later after death, which could put JonBenet's time of death at as late in the next morning as 8 or even 9 a.m. Had JonBenet been held against her will in her own basement that morning, bound and gagged by duct tape by her abductors, who carefully monitored what was being said in the home that morning from this unsuspected and unlikely location? If so, the intruder may have hunkered down there overnight, cruelly killed and defiled the captive JonBenet, and escaped undetected through the basement window, using a suitcase as a makeshift step up to that raised, broken basement window. But this presumably could only have happened prior to police arriving at the Ramsey home following the frantic 911 call from Patsy. Unless, that is, the intruder exited undetected through the basement window while the police, which most Americans would not spell with a capital P as is done here, were preoccupied with interviewing the Ramseys inside the home.
Now, a couple things to unpack here. First off, we know exactly what time John found the body. It was 1:04 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Now we
now,
do, yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we do now, which is odd because, like I said, this was written in 2017. But mind you, he's a psychologist going over what was said in the thing. Probably wasn't looking at all the
Mm-hmm.
facts like we are. Now we know that Patsy made the phone call at 5:52, and Officer French arrived at the home at 5:59. So 7 minutes between the 911 call and the
Mm-hmm.
police arriving, which
Which
is
is,
plenty of time for someone to leave the house. But
well,
we know that she was killed right around midnight. So there would have been no reason for the person who
kid,
killed her or the ransom people to
stay.
still be in the
Right,
house.
right. They were gone. I believe they were long gone before the body was discovered. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, Sandy, yeah, a broken basement window doesn't tell me how it was broken. Was the glass broken? Was the lock broken prior to the act? And we'll go into more of that when we actually
And
cover the
what
crime
side
scene.
is the glass on, and
Yeah,
all of that.
there's
Mm-hmm.
if you go to JonBenetRamsey.com and look under evidence, you can actually see the crime scene photos.
Mm-hmm.
Which luckily we will show you the crime scene photos, but her body is not there, so we don't
No, we're
have to
not.
worry
We're
about
not.
that.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah,
It's a
well, no,
child.
I don't. If I remember, I don't know if we actually have any photos because, mind you, John snatched her up from the basement and ran her upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't actually have. We just have
Doesn't
what they told
exactly
us.
sound. Doesn't
Yeah,
exactly sound like a man who could have wrote that note, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
And my guess, Sandy, is if I remember right, the latch was broken because I will share this to you real quick. This is the basement window they're talking of, and as you can see, the panes are all intact. I believe the window latch was broken, and John had meant to fix that but hadn't gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
So, another thing here, from what I understand, it said she was almost being beheaded by a garrote-like ligature. If I
Mm-hmm.
remember right, and we'll know more when we look at the autopsy next week. I don't think the ligature. Well, that won't be next week. That'll be later. But I don't. If I remember, I don't think it cut into her skin.
I think because it was a Garrett type, I think it did. Just remember
Yeah,
how tiny she is.
I know, but I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Look, I don't remember seeing that in actual. That
Well,
it
I
actually
don't.
cut her skin. I knew she was strangled with it because of what it was, but I don't remember. Um,
Um,
I have to look at a different.
I don't think they
I
would
don't
have
have it
showed it
pulled up,
if it
but
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, when we actually go into the autopsy report, I
It will
said,
say so in the autopsy. I don't think we
yeah,
need
I
to
said
see
I
it.
don't remember right
Yeah.
offhand, but
Yeah, please.
yeah,
Yeah, Jay.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
um, now, yeah, I said that there's really not much more to go on, but except what he said, except for the couple of things we said here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I guess we can move on to the next one. Let me double check the
You
chat real quick.
you want
Uh,
to read it or you want me to continue?
I can
It's
get
up
the
to
next
you.
one. I just
Okay.
want to make sure I didn't miss something in chat.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah. Yeah, they did check the suitcase. Um,
Good question though, Mrs. Cassandra. You're thinking
yep.
you got that we're getting that unsolved thing going on here. We're thinking. Look at that
um,
murder minion.
so the next part says, oh, that's good to know. Uh, sorry, it was a conversation between my dad and Shay about the DNA from the military.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. On when they gave permission and
yeah,
they did put it all in file and they opened up all those files to the,
yeah,
because
because
everybody was
like you
there.
said, he had last remembered, and I didn't know
Mhm.
this either. I still thought it was just is still
Mhm.
only for identification purposes, but apparently they did open it up to law enforcement in 2003
Mhm. They
over
did it. Oh,
objections from the defense department. So
well, they did, but they said that the original permissions that you gave covered it because there was language in there. It went through legal and everything. There was language in the original permissions that permitted them to extend it to a program like this. And I think it was because they were trying to make this huge national, if not international, database to help solve crimes faster and easier.
mhm.
And it is a little scary, but at the same time, you got to think, maybe some good will come out of it too. You know, this.
So the
Yeah.
next part says you can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with the law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. This statement begs the question of whether the writer of the ransom note actually engaged in similar criminal behaviors before. From where would such familiarity with law enforcement come from? Again, it is somewhat unusual, I believe, for American to capitalize the L in law enforcement. Once again, not necessarily, because if you watch how I write stuff, some letters are
Yeah.
capitalized, some aren't. Um, Professional criminals, psychopaths, if they monitored the 911 calls by Patsy just prior to 6 a.m., as they suggested would happen, they would certainly know that it would be a matter of only minutes before police arrived at the Ramsey residence, providing figuratively, and perhaps literally in this case, a very narrow window of opportunity to escape. However, if the discussion and probably the understanded heated debate between John and Patsy leading up to the 911 call had indeed been monitored
Mhm.
electronically by the kidnappers, there could have been hypothetically been sufficient enough time to brutally kill JonBenet as promised and then quickly escape through the narrow basement window. That whole statement is crap because we know she was killed at midnight and not around midnight,
Mhm.
and her call come in at 9:52. So yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, the whole
Mhm.
so I don't agree so much with that. So so you next one is you stand 99% chance.
Hmm. 99% chance. Okay, you stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. Here, the author places almost total responsibility for JonBenet's death onto her father. John, should he try to outsmart us? Almost, but not quite total. Why speak of a 99% chance of killing your daughter as opposed to a 100% chance of getting her back? That seems strange. Maybe the author is acknowledging the slightest 1% possibility of being thwarted or apprehended and prevented from killing JonBenet. But why would he or she do that? Clearly, this statement is designed to dissuade John from doing something other than what they want him to do. But it infers that there is an albeit slim 1% chance of John's deciding to deviate from the plan, not inevitably resulting in his daughter's demise. This almost sounds like a direct challenge being posed to John, suggesting some possible prior relationship.
I don't know about that part, but I always did find the 99% chance and the 100% chance kind of odd.
Mhm.
A statement there,
Mhm.
you would think it would have been you stand a 100% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us.
Mhm.
Follow her
Mhm.
instructions and you will 100% get a chance of getting her back. The 99% chance is one that's always kind of, I never understood why they would put 99% chance. It
Hmm.
just seems to me if you try to screw this up, she's going to die.
Yep.
And if there were two people guarding her like he said they were, and he deviated from the set, you would think that the person would 100% get a hold of those two people and, you know, have her killed.
Mhm.
Yeah, he said that's one of the sentences here that always stood out to me just being odd.
Mhm.
So the next part, do you have anything with that before I go on?
Nope. Nope. I agree. Hmm.
Okay. So the next part is you and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. The notion that the kidnappers are omniscient and omnipresent as regards scrutinizing and monitoring the Ramsey family, as well as the authorities, seems totally grandiose. Also, the use of the word scrutiny suggests something more critical than a mere observation and demonstrates a fairly sophisticated vocabulary. However, it may have served mainly as a scare tactic intended to force a family to comply with their demands without deviation, if indeed it was written by an intruder. I agree with that back part. I don't agree with the had to be demonstrate a fairly sophisticated vocabulary. But once again, I'm not a psychologist.
Right.
And I do think it's just it was a scare tactic part of the note, you know. So you get that don't grow a brain, John.
Okay. Don't try to grow a brain, John. This is clearly a hostile and demeaning statement. John Ramsey was a highly successful and well respected businessman, as the author or the ransom note knows. So why suggest so sarcastically that he is not intelligent, i.e., has no brain? Does it sound like something he would write about himself, or that Patsy would say if she were the author? I doubt it. But if so, it would be very clever and deceptive inclusion, leading the reader to conclude that the kidnapper knows John and, like his two accomplices, has a very low opinion of his intelligence. It has a ring of both familiarity and contempt, the kind of contempt that typically stems from familiarity. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult.
Well, that's the next part. So
I'm sorry.
no,
That's
you're
okay.
fine.
You,
um,
you
so with that statement, don't try to grow a brain, John.
mhm.
That is something. If I was going to write a ransom note, but I would throw in there for me for shits and giggles. Um, to kind of throw people off because, like I said, I'm a movie buff, and a lot of these would be something I would say if I was writing a ransom
Mhm.
note. Trying to a scare tactic. I don't the whole sarcastically saying that he's not intelligent or
Mhm.
that he's familiar. I don't know. So I don't know. You got anything on that?
No, because like I said before, I didn't think that Douglas had said that he thought that they actually had respect for him. But when I further read the note, I actually got the opposite info that they actually had knowledge of him and a bit of contempt. Like it says, like
Mm-hmm.
in those phrases, that the way that they were torturing him, they didn't like him so much. They didn't really respect him that way. They just knew he was powerful. They knew he had, money. They knew he had influence. So they had deference, respect, but not the kind that you actually feel. They
Mm-hmm.
actually had contempt, personal contempt for him, I thought,
Mm-hmm. So The next part says you are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. And he
Mm-hmm.
says that meaning that they have done this before to other affluent families, that they have
Mm-hmm.
kidnapped and killed children before. As noted earlier, the use of the term "fat cat" seems somewhat unusual in '96, hinting perhaps an age of the author. In an interview, John responded to a question regarding the use of the term, and the ransom note made mention that he was part of a select group of so-called fat cats in Atlanta. The expression "fat cat" is a bit anachronistic and not as commonly used today as it once was, say in the '60s, indicating to me that the author may be relatively older rather than younger individual who was around during those days and exposed to that phrase. A person perhaps at least in his 30s at the time of this crime and possibly considerably beyond. This would tend to rule out 9-year-old Burke as a writer, though such slang can be still picked up from movies, books, etc. But how does John, being the only one of many such fat cats in the area, correlate to him thinking that killing will be difficult? Perhaps the implication is that if he does not comply completely with the author's demand, the kidnappers will not hesitate to kill JonBenet, then moving on to the next wealthy victim.
Mm-hmm.
That is not actually this statement is not uncommon when you see, especially when you look at cartel kidnappings and things like that, in other kidnapping cases where it's like, hey, you aren't the only one here that's got money, so don't think that this is a one and done type of thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Nope. Nope. I get that. Okay. So you ready?
yeah, hang on, just checking the thing.
I'll just
Uh,
say thank you, Herb, for the actual year and everything like that, that we could see when it changed. Because honestly, I was probably mixing up two arguments, to tell you the truth. I definitely defer to you guys actually knowing when it actually happened and what happened, since you were
um,
part of it. Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Shay says Juju maybe a wife helped with the note but didn't help with the actual murder. Then Juju says they sent the man to do the kidnapping and he went rogue but left the note, etc. And then goes, we should save this for theory day.
Yeah, save it for theory day,
And
guys. We
Juju said,
definitely need them.
and just Shay says they just need us on the case. And Juju says Shay and I cracked the case in a mere 3 live streams.
Oh God! Well, damn, this is good. Like, then we let them take over the show next week. What do you think? Yeah.
So I will let you take the next two. Don't underestimate
Okay.
us and use that good Southern, and then I'll finish it out.
Okay. Don't underestimate us, John. This statement expresses some concern on the writer's part that his or her demands and threats will not be taken seriously. Might there have been a particular reason for this concern, based perhaps on some previous dealings with John Ramsey or with other victims?
I
Hmm.
I got nothing on this one.
Okay, use that good southern common sense of yours. Again, this has the flavor of familiarity. Most Americans would, I think, tend to capitalize the word southern in this sentence. The author obviously knows John hails from the South, either because he has researched his background or met him or knows someone who did, or because it was in actuality John or Patsy who penned the note themselves. Hmm.
And once again, I agree with the film, the flavor of familiarity, because at some point they had
Mm-hmm.
to know, found out
Mm-hmm.
somewhere that he was from the South. But if they're
You would have
rummaging
just
through the
had to
house,
talk to him.
yeah, and if they're rummaging through the house, or heard
Yeah.
him, it is not that hard. The capitalize the word Southern in the sentence. Who would do that?
I would, but then
Yeah.
again,
And for me, it's not anything that you would need to capitalize Southern common
mm,
sense,
yeah,
for.
not in common. Yeah, yeah, I could see not doing it, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, even Raven's like, "Why would you capitalize Southern?" Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know.
understand the capitalizing
Mhm.
the Southern part. So,
It is so much speculation, Sandy. I agree. There's just
yeah.
so much. Yeah.
So the next part says, "It's up to you now, John." This again places the entire responsibility of JonBenet's life or death squarely and cruelly onto John's shoulders, an apparent effort to convince him to cooperate. If indeed this note was written after JonBenet was dead, and as some suppose, this comment could only be seen as a sadistic and deliberate victory to make John feel horrifically guilty, suggesting a motivation that is more personal and resentful than monetary.
Hmm.
I
It is.
Yeah,
Oh,
I still kind of find it kind of odd if people believing that John and Patsy wrote this together, why is it
Mm-hmm.
only targeted at John? Why isn't she included at any of this note? That's the whole thing for me. I don't
Well, yeah.
know. So the next part ends with victory SBTC. Victory over what? Defeating John? Beating the system by extorting the money? What was this a vindictive act of war against the Ramseys by individuals who somehow feel oppressed or wounded by them? And what are we to make of the totally cryptic signature initials, SBTC? There was no period following the C for some reason, where there was a period between the S, B, T, and C, but none at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Another great mystery. If the Ramsey wrote the ransom note, there would have been no need to sign it this way. Why bother? If an intruder wrote it, why sign it at all? And to what or whom does his initial refer? Signing such a potentially incriminating document indicates a certain degree of pride regarding its content and construction. It also suggests that kidnappers may have been taunting the Ramseys and authorities, challenging them to try and catch them. This hints again at the possible streak of narcissistic grandiosity in the author, which can also be found in earlier comments demeaning John's intelligence, claiming superior knowledge in law enforcement methods, etc. What would it take to conceptualize and create a ransom note such as this in order to cover up JonBenet's accidental and deliberate death? It seems to me that a tall order for two bereaved and panicking parents to come up with such details and diabolic plot lines under pressure on such a short notice. Based on what we know of the timeline, it seems doubtful that they would have had more than 5 hours to come to terms with John being gone, decide to cover it up, how it really happened, concoct the convoluted kidnapping story, stage the torture and murder of their daughter, and create a time-consuming, carefully printed, handwritten ransom note.
Hmm. Well, there you have it.
Yeah. So,
That concludes all the
yeah,
notes.
that's well, I actually did find some more stuff that I didn't put in the notes, and I'm sorry for that, Claire.
Oh,
This is going to come at you a little sideways here because you're not prepared for this. So
I'm not. What do you? Okay, I'm
now
not prepared.
we're actually looking specifically at SBTC.
Okay.
Now this is from August 23rd, 2006, from Anderson Cooper's blog 360. I'm going to skip most of this and come down to the other part. It says another man, Michael Helgoth, was also a prime suspect during the JonBenet Ramsey case. He was a Colorado native who died shortly after the murder, but his death left more questions than answers. It appeared to be suicide. But what about the stun gun discovered next to his body? Investigators believe a stun gun had been used on JonBenet. Prosecutor Demoth told me about Helgoth. I remember that he had footwear that was consistent with the footprint evidence. He had a stun gun. He had reportedly made statements to a friend very similar to the type of statements that we're hearing about today in the press with the arrest of John Carr. And we already know, as we talked about earlier, John Carr was the guy from Thailand that they, no, he didn't do it. Now, the biggest thing here in this article, it says, even more strange, a baseball cap with the letters SBTC was found near Helgoth's body. Those are the same letters found in the ransom note in the Ramsey's house. DeMuth says he believes Helgoth DNA was tested, then it didn't match up. Now, here's the second example of SBTC that we've seen.
Well, that doesn't mean he wasn't one of the kidnappers.
No, and that's exactly. But what I'm saying here is, with that, so a couple of things that I see. SBTC, what most people believe SBTC stands for is Subic Bay Training Center, where John was stationed at in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of people believe it had somebody that was close to John during his time in the military, which would give him, if he stayed in contact with him, would give him access to the family. Because there are when those of us who are military, or we know that some of your friends that you make in the military tend to stay with you for long periods of time. So it wouldn't have been uncommon that that had popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Another SBTC thing, and where to go? I seem to have lost that one. Damn it. Let me look it up real quick here. It stands for, there was the Southern Baptist Texas Convention is another one that pops up.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Is this the one? Oh, there it is. Um, some people observing the cases, such as Fox News' Jeffrey Scott Shapiro. Now, mind you, this was written in 2016 before Fox News became that it is now. Pointed out that the acronym translates to "Saved by the Cross in the Christian Faith." This theory implies that the preceding victory alludes to victory over Satan. I have
Mm.
no idea where they pulled that from.
Yeah,
But
I don't think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Um,
that is the two prevalent theories of what SBTC stands for. But
mhm.
only those that wrote the letter know what SBTC stands for.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
tend to lean that it was, if it, as we know now
Yeah, but
after,
this guy with the stun gun in the shoes,
yeah,
in the
oh,
hat,
yeah,
yeah, like that does not like just because the DNA doesn't match doesn't eliminate him. It just means he was not the assaulter.
yeah,
Okay, it does not mean he wasn't one of the kidnappers, and he may have, um, demised because of his guilt over what happened because it was supposed to just be a kidnapping.
mm-hmm.
That kind of makes sense to me, actually. Kind of a little bit. I don't know about anybody else, but I guess we should save that for theory day. Who are the other two, three, four, whoever else was invited? What?
uh,
And he was. You said German.
I didn't say
What's his last name?
Helgoth, Helgoth.
It doesn't sound. Does that sound American?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, how many Americans have weird last names?
No, true. I'm just trying to see if we could tie in the foreign,
The four,
the second,
tie in
yeah,
the foreign.
tie in the
Uh,
foreign second language thing from the note. That's
there
all.
is though an Erie small business technology center, as her put in
Small.
there.
Yeah, there you
It
go.
is the similarities though. Like Claire stated out that him with the stun gun and the hat could be coincidence, but it is more likely that he may
Wait,
have been one of the perpetrators or
don't
had
forget the
something to do with
shoe.
it.
It's
Oh,
not
and
just two things. There's the
yeah,
shoe too. So
yeah,
when
and
it gets to three, how could that possibly be coincidental?
yeah. But like I said, the DNA tested didn't match up with Helgoth, but that doesn't mean he wasn't involved.
Right.
Like I said, at this point, we don't know if it was one person, two people, three people, five people. We don't know, and we may never know. And so it's kind of hard to. I mean, until this case is actually, we get a hit in the DNA, like we did with the Green River Killer, and we actually looking into different things. We're not going to know what happened until the person or persons is caught if they are still alive. I'm going to save my theory for later. I think I've already stated it, but I'll save it for theory day. Um. So yeah. Um. Final opinion on the letter, Claire. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I do not think the parents wrote it. I am totally tossing that theory out in my mind completely. There's just no way after even looking at the analysis by Douglas and by the psychologist, no way. No, by Stevenson, there's just no way. There's just nothing supporting that the parents could have got there mentally to do that at
Mm-hmm.
all. And,
Now, yeah, I'm
um,
sorry. I don't mean to. I'll let me know when you're finished because then I got something I want to add in here. So
I'm almost finished. The only other thing I would say is that they keep saying that they think it was a second language person, this, that. Yeah, there's a little bit of all that there, but there's also a lot more to say somebody was deflecting and trying to make it look that way a lot. Trying to put a lot of different things involved. I do think it definitely if you take it on face value, it definitely reads as if they know John Ramsey. He is the one they're trying to get back at. They know the amount of the money. It's definitely some kind of business acquaintance that they would business professional acquaintance or a business deal going bad. And there are people that are really upset with him about it.
mm-hmm.
And then I think it went bad. But that's all for theory day. But about the ransom note, I do think that one of a number of kidnappers is responsible for writing the note. Just one person, and that it's not the parents.
Now, I can top that because handwriting analysis has been done. And
Mm-hmm.
they first believed, yeah, it was funny because I wish I would have saved that article when I was looking it up. I really should save some of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
But when in the case of Wolf versus Ramsey, um, stated that they sent it to a handwriting analysis unit,
Mm-hmm.
and the Ramsey's defense lawyer come back with, "Well, are they accredited?" And they said, "Well, no, they're a bunch of I can't remember what they're called, handwriting experts." There is
Mm-hmm.
only one actual accredited handwriting expert facility, and it was never used until later to determine that Patsy did not write this. So everybody claiming that, oh, wrote the ransom letter, Patsy wrote the ransom letter, it was actually determined by the only credible handwriting analysis center that she did not write the letter.
Mm-hmm. So the only credible one actually says she
Mm-hmm.
did not. So they're now saying she did not.
Yeah,
Okay.
because there was another lady she come on 2020, I believe it was in 2007, saying that she found 200 similarities. Well, when that accreditor looked at it, they're like, yeah, no. They're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no. And another thing is they said somebody would have to disguise their handwriting. The
Mm-hmm.
problem with that is when the handwriting experts looked at it, there was no hesitation in the writing, which is a key indicator that someone who's trying to be deceptive in their handwriting
Mm-hmm.
is inconsistent lettering and hesitations. And there was neither there was no inconsistencies with the letters
Mm-hmm.
other than the normal variations. And it was all written in one shot. There was they can tell by the pen strokes and everything that it was written in one take. Like, and what they believe is they were reading. That's why they believe that it
Mm-hmm.
was actual written before, and they copied it onto another thing because it was consistent. The pen strokes and the pressure was consistent from start to finish. If it was written on time at the time on that paper, you would see hesitation marks from trying to think of what they're going to say, or if somebody
Mm-hmm.
was telling them what to say, they'd stop. Okay, this is what we'll write this down. There was
Right.
none of
Right.
that. So that's why I brought up that they believe it was written. It was a copy from another ransom note.
Right. In other words, they pre-thought it out. Then they went there to get the supplies. Purposely get supplies from the family
Yep.
to write the letter, and then planted to deflect again on who it could be. Just to make it even worse. Yeah, that's pretty clever, actually. Yeah.
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 So
Well, boy, that was a lot. That was a lot.
there's a lot, and like I said, I like that article from that
Mm-hmm.
psychologist because he did bring up a lot of stuff that
You
True
did.
Crime Garage brought up, and the
Mm-hmm.
not Search Girl, what's that one? Statementanalysis.com had both
Yes.
brought up,
Yep.
a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the different things
Mm-hmm.
about that ransom note. He kind of covered it all there too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there was one thing I wanted to put here. Okay, now in the statement analysis on it on line 3 where they crossed out the do,
Mm-hmm.
um, they say that the writer may have started to write the word "don't respect your business," but change it to "we respect your business." Um,
Really?
yeah, it says the kidnapper already has his mindset would probably not make this mistake. Now it's kind of hard to tell because there's only two letters. Well, the first one is clearly a D, but the second one is possibly an O, but they don't know for sure. So it's kind of hard to say if they were going to go do or don't, or
Mm-hmm.
so like because they easily could have said we do respect your business or we don't respect your business. It's kind of hard to tell. Um, they do say In line 19, we have an unnecessary word over, where it says the two gentlemen watching over your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
They say unnecessary words are words that can be taken out of sentence and the sentence will still make sense. Yeah, it's just who's talking, you know. So I mean, it's yeah. So that's what I've got. What do you got? Anything you got, Claire?
No, I mean that's what, but basically just what I said about it. I don't, I don't think it was parents that wrote it. Absolutely. I don't necessarily believe that it was a foreigner. I think it's more deflection on that part. I think that theory about it being written ahead of time and then copied in the house
Okay.
is a good theory also.
Yeah.
But
Um.
that's about it.
Yeah.
And
In the chat, I put the link to what we're going to be going over tomorrow.
okay, good. Yeah, I put that up
That
before.
is the morning of the
Mm-hmm.
murder.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go through, and you will see how
Mm-hmm.
much they screwed this whole thing up from the start.
Yeah,
It
you're
is
gonna now we're gonna see all of the bad
this.
police work that was
Yeah,
done.
this is where
Yeah.
we're going to see just some horrible police work.
Yeah.
Now, I will say today, and I will probably reiterate tomorrow, that they were severely understaffed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember right, the first officer on scene hadn't been there very long.
Right. Right.
So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there are some different things that we can look at, and I'm interesting to see what the chat's going to talk about next, tomorrow night when we actually go over
Mm-hmm.
this,
Well, that's if they
because
don't have their own YouTube channel by then, because they cracked the case. They want they're demanding us to pay them $118,000
yeah, I've
for
seen
doing
that.
it, and they have their own YouTube channel now, and they're celebrating. They're going to be making a lot of money doing this stuff. So anyway, you guys,
Um,
it was so much fun.
actually, it's she, not he, but
Who?
Officer French.
Officer French is a she.
If I remember right, Officer French was a female. I could be wrong
Mm-hmm.
because
It
it just
could
says
be.
Officer
Mhm.
French.
Oh, it's good timing, Juju. So enjoy your dinner. Yeah, I'm going to still be on YouTube later tonight. I'm going to be doing Black Mirror with Always Creative with Kim.
Yeah, you
Well,
got
we're
that
going
coming up. What? Just over an
nine
hour?
o'clock. Yeah, about an hour plus, a little bit. About 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock over there, we're going to be covering the Smithereens tonight. Which was interesting. It was very social media related. So.
Juju says, "Come on over. Looks delicious."
It's you know what it sounds. You steam. What are you making with those steamed fresh vegetables? What did you make? I missed it earlier in the chat if you wrote it.
I can tell
What?
you what me and Raven had
Yes.
for
What did you
Zombie
have?
Day. Me and
Yeah. What you
Raven
have?
for Happy Zombie Day, we had steaks with sautéed asparagus and mushrooms.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Oh,
That actually
it
does
was
sound
it was
lovely.
fantastic.
Yeah. When we have the family all over, we usually make a lamb. But we did not have family over this week, this time, because they went to a more religious dinner at the in-laws and everything. So of course, I did, the atheist doesn't get invited to those. So
Um,
we had spaghetti and meatballs. I mean spaghetti and ziti with the fresh baked bread. It was really
mhm.
good. Mm-hmm.
um, let's see. So tomorrow, like I said, tomorrow we're going. My mom's like, and you didn't invite us? Jeez.
I know
No,
mom and dad
I
is like
only
bragging
when
about dinner and
when I
dinner.
make that,
Mhm.
that's mine and Raven's special dinner.
That's their romantic
Yeah,
dinner. It
that's
sounds
our
very
special dinner.
romantic. Steak
Um,
and asparagus is always
yeah.
romantic. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, garlic pot roast with mashed
Oh,
potatoes and
oh,
broccoli.
ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay. Juju, I would come by you
Where are you
anytime
at,
then for
Juju?
that.
I think we need to make
Yes,
a
look
road
like
trip.
address, please. I'm
That
hungry
sounds
now.
good.
Can I get there and back before my show? Hey, wait, my laptop travels. I'll just bring it with me. Okay.
My mom said they had Walmart fried chicken.
Oh well, fried chicken's cool. That's cool too.
So
Well,
tomorrow, we wrap this up so the Claire can get
7
going.
o'clock. 7 o'clock
Yeah.
tomorrow. Yes, I'll be putting it out later tonight. I didn't have it out yet. I needed to confirm with Jay, and I'm kind of like all off my normal game because I'm exhausted.
Yeah. So tomorrow night, like I said, we'll walk through the morning of,
Yes.
and we'll probably get into the little bit, because it's not very long, on what actually happened when they found the body. And it's like I said, it's a step by step, minute by minute
Mm-hmm.
breakdown of everything that happened that morning and after they found the body. And
Mm-hmm.
then Sunday, let's see, Sunday we will look at the murder at the crime scene
Autopsy.
itself, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about the different things found at the crime scene. And then next Monday, and I will get with Claire. I can actually get with you right now and tell you about next Monday.
Mm-hmm. Look at this,
Um,
guys. He's very organized. Are
I
you
have my
impressed?
phone with
I
me
am
right now, so
impressed.
that's why I'm all
I've got
all right.
goosebumps, organizational goosebumps going on here. Like we're gonna know what's going on for
All
the
right.
next couple of
So
seconds.
next Sunday, we would have to do it at 1 p.m. Because I have to
Okay,
work between 3 and 9, so it'll be an
I
early
can
afternoon.
I can block that out for you. No
And
problem.
then
No problem.
Monday we'll have to do your show at 10.
Okay, so Monday's gonna be a 10. All right,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. So the next 2 Mondays will have to be 10 o'clock.
Do you know what we're doing Monday?
So let's see. We've got the walkthrough tomorrow. Crime. So that's that Monday. Crime scene on Sunday. That Monday we'll probably do autopsy.
Okay, that's
We'll
okay.
look at the autopsy report.
All right.
Some of you, I am aware, may not find the autopsy very likable. We will try to be
No.
discreet as
Well,
possible,
mm-hmm.
and try to keep it. What time tomorrow? Tomorrow will be 7 p.m.
Yes, 7 p.m. is tomorrow. I'll be
Yeah.
putting that out in after Black Mirror tonight. I'll create everything. I apologize for being behind. I kind of got off my game. I got exhausted. Monday through. I'm covering. Jay. I'm covering the death
Yep.
trial.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like 8 to 10 hours a day of live commentary in between watching legal stuff. And I'm not complaining because I absolutely love it. You guys know I love this legal stuff. Like, and so I'm really, really loving it. It's over on Auditing the Absurd. Yeah.
Yeah. My mom says 10 is late. Pick another time. And my dad said he just finished reading the autopsy. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm sorry, Mom. It's Jay's fault. He makes
Yeah,
me,
it's
it's either
work.
7 or 10. If
It's
it's
work
10,
related.
it's
Yeah.
all Jay. Yeah.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
it's 10 o'clock, it's because it's work related.
I
So
had
yes, tomorrow walkthrough, Sunday, crime
mhm,
scene, Monday, next Monday will be autopsy, and then we'll see where we're at from there. So that's the next
oh,
3
yeah.
shows. Thank you
Mhm,
all for joining us here on True
mhm.
Serial. Join us Wednesday over on Hereticals. We will be. Oh, you hush, retired. My dad's like, "What's work?" Yeah, he's retired. Shush. I will be having Occults and Conspiracies on Wednesday. I'm kind of narrowing down the topic, and so as soon as I narrow down which one I'm going to talk about, I will
Oh,
get that
good.
one set up.
You're going to do that this Wednesday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there will be
Okay.
Occults and Conspiracies this Wednesday, and
Okay.
then I'm
Good.
not sure what's
I'm
going
glad.
on for Six Pack on Hereticals on Friday, but we'll see.
We'll see, but otherwise, if it's going to be, we'll all be
Yeah.
there. So we'll see.
So thank you guys.
Have a great night.
Have a great night.
I'll see some of you in a little while, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments. As always, you're always helpful, and it's like getting different perspectives on different things. Until tomorrow, 7 p.m. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves and take care of your family. And once again, I did not put my outro in.
You did not. Oh, let me just
Now-
welcome Grenier Lambert. Miss thank you for finding us. I'm sorry about the time zone. I know you commented on the back of the video. We'll be doing it for quite a few more weeks between my channel and Jay's channel. But also we have a Discord for Murder Minions. If you would like to DM either of us on Instagram or Twitter, the information is down below and on my videos also. With the Discord invite, we're going to be doing calls and chats on theory on JonBenet. And I know you're very interested in this case, which is why I'm mentioning it to you specifically, because I saw your note. So thank you for joining us.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon. Yep. I see you tomorrow night. It's 7. Tomorrow night it's 7,
Tomorrow
which is
is
only
7.
midnight. Right. Only midnight for them. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Take care of yourself. Take care of your family.
Yes.